Welcome back. We're now going to talk about operations, and I'm happy to have Greg Giazio with me. Greg is going to walk us through the importance of operations. Operations really is the meat and potatoes of your business plan, and pretty much everything is going to fall into the operations category, but Greg's going to help walk us through that.
Operations is actually all the things you need to produce your product or service. You have to plan your operations before you open your doors. How are you going to make your product? How are you going to make sure you provide quality? How do you control inventory, raw materials, finished goods? Almost every business deals with local, state, and federal licensing, permits, regulations, interstate commerce. And what about patents, trademarks, copyrights? Nowadays, you need to think of how your product or service may affect the environment. It's all operations. There's hours and hours of research involved with each point.
How can a startup get his or her arms around this as they're starting to launch their business?
Well, there's a couple of suggestions that I have. It's details, details, details. And, it's the scary question is, what am I forgetting? I suggest really two tools, what I call a virtual tour of your new business and a timeline with pen and stickies. I suggest taking a virtual tour of your production process. Many entrepreneurs learn by doing, and it works. But in the early stages, it can be costly. If you can learn by imagining some of the tasks, you'll be dollars ahead. Envision your needs as you walk through your business. What equipment is needed to perform your service? How many employees do you need? What is the payroll going to be? Envision every step of production. Record your vision and use a timeline. And while touring, be sure to note where you may need help and start imagining possible resources and advisors. Manufacturing, go through, imagine what pieces of equipment you need to start producing your product. If you're a service, say you're cleaning carpet, do you need to have booties that you wear when you go into somebody's house? What does your van look like? What type of equipment are you going to use?
So Greg, how do you remember all the things that you're supposed to do? I mean, it seems like you don't know what you don't know. We've said that before, but...
And I really see it as a timeline. And for the timeline, draw a line on a big wall or a big sheet of paper and put today's date where you're starting, and then at the end, the date that you plan to open. Basically, it's a to-do list, a planning tool. It positions tasks in order. Remember the old adage, if you fail to plan, plan to fail. Always carry pen and paper or even stickies. Start with today's date, list major steps, make the timeline realistic. Delays can be costly. You don't want to pay rent while you are waiting for production equipment. Move the notes around as needed. Your next step is quality control.
So how do you define quality control, Greg? Quality can mean different things to different people.
Yeah, it really can be a moving target. A lot of variations go into it, but it's really defined by your customer and their expectations. And your competitors have played a role already in establishing your customers' expectations. Sometimes the government may even define quality by setting standards. Customer service is the face and voice of your business. Make it easy for your customer to do business with you. It's important to communicate quality expectations to your employees, so define it, maintain it. Think of McDonald's. A Big Mac is a Big Mac anywhere in the country. Consistent quality is important to your reputation. Most businesses have inventory considerations. You need to determine the level and dollar amount and the balance of raw materials and finished goods. How many times are you going to turn your inventory in a year? Can you negotiate with suppliers to store your inventory? volume purchases versus cost of inventory versus opportunity costs. You have to look at all of those. Determine backup suppliers. Be prepared to spend a lot of time thinking about who those people will be. What's your process, and what's the value of having the right item in stock when your customers need it? Well, who knew you needed a license to raise turtles or sell wild ginseng? Who knew? Investigate federal, state, and local requirements. There are several hundred regulated business types or business activities in the state. Become familiar with employment regulations, right to work verification. Nowadays, every citizen is responsible to contribute to the protection and preservation and enhancement of natural resources. You need to research and find if there's any regulatory agency for your business category. Enlist the help of the agencies with any questions or concerns about the environment.
I hear the term intellectual property a lot, Greg. What does intellectual property mean?
Well, depending on your business, it could be a trademark, which identifies your product or service. Could be patents, which are government grants to monopolies, or even a copyright offers you control over literary, music, visual creations, and finally trade secrets that are governed by state laws. Theft of a trade secret is unlawful and punishable.
So is this the same as protecting your business idea?
Yes, yes it is. Every business has risk. Protect your assets. Business entity considerations come under risk. I mean, should you be a sole proprietor, get the protection of an LLC or a corporation? Disability insurance. What if something happens to you and you're no longer able to work? How will you transfer the business? That's certainly a consideration. Liability insurance, workers' compensation. If you're in a partnership, you are an asset. Consider backup power. Consideration for computer backups. Workplace safety.
So Greg, it appears to me that operations is really the process by which you go through in the real meat of your business. So what are the things, the real takeaways that we should be following up on as we wrap up our section on operations?
Well, you really have to be precise and tight and well planned as to how you're going to make your product. You have to know exactly what machinery you're going to need, or accessories or anything like that. You need to figure out what quality is and manage your inventory. That's a big cost. The raw materials, the finished goods, and then realize that you might have to seek legal help with trademarks, copyrights, patents, things like that.
So what you're saying, Greg, is that we as business owners don't have to know everything. Correct. And that it's okay to go out and ask for help, and in fact we should be going out and asking for help. Is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, super. Well, Greg, thanks a lot. We really appreciate your expertise here, and really look forward to getting on to our next step and moving forward and seeing where that's going to take us.